Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Of course, we are talking all things Winter Racing Festival. The 2024 festival took place at Shelbourne Park over Friday and Saturday night. For today's chats, we have Declan O'Donoghue, the Oracle, of course, is with us, and the Exile Dub is back from his how would you describe it, his jaunts. Tommy, good to see you. Declan, great to see you. Declan, firstly, you were at Shelbourne Park over the weekend. Again, this never seems to miss. Just a wonderful night's racing. Certainly on the Saturday, good racing on the Friday, of course, but Saturday is very much the main course.
Absolutely. It's a great concept. Started by your dad, indeed, God rest him, the whole Night of Stars, and it's just gone on now to the Winter Festival. And Saturday night in particular was just magnificent racing. It was from start to finish. You're nearly wanting another race to come on. Long night though it was, it had to end sometime, but it was very, very good. And it's a great way to kind of finish off the year and the season. It's a top way of doing it.
Yeah, indeed. Big crowd there at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night, Tommy. Declan said it there. Like at one point, I looked at the card and it was like five races in. I went, like, I'm not sure my throat is up to this. Like it just seems to come at you in waves and waves and waves. It's a long night in terms of when you're working and whatnot, but like each race just stands on its own.
Yeah, look, I was trying to tune in from Madrid, trying to catch all the races, and there was a great combination of 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 the old and the new. New stars that have kind of announced themselves during the derby, and then the established stars, the other Kobe, the Road Exile, who seems to be around forever and is still producing at the top level. Like it's been a great concept, and it's gone on since what is that the 12th or 13th running of it?
2012 was the first year. 2012 was the
2012, yeah.
first year.
Like
Yeah.
look at that. We all want that quality of racing, and there seem to be a lot of dogs who have been turning up in all the top competitions over the years and actually getting their turn, which is nice.
Yeah, obviously it's a two-night festival. The Friday evening is very much for the greyhounds that are probably never going to be on the very top level, or for a few that are coming up that way, and then one or two that are sort of on not the downward scale, but like we had a veterans race, but there was 11 sweepstakes in all. Just one or two races where we'll probably actually give them a mention in passing through our chat on the Saturday night, because there were a couple of crossovers. Obviously, Check for Cash won the veterans race. Big pardon, Check for Sir won the veterans race. Check for Cash won the following night, so we'll give a mention to him. But I thought the performance of the night on the Friday was from the youngster Lenny's Desire. Declan, I really was impressed by this fella. I think he's a very bright future.
Absolutely, and he's only had a few races, and yes, he had a, and Paul Hennessy, in fairness, had a great winner of the stairs race as well, on the Friday night. So his calendar is very much back in the forefront again. Yeah, Lenny is very, very good and very exciting for next season. Sure, I mean you're looking straight away at stuff like the Gold Cup, the Easter Cup, that kind of campaign. I would imagine.
Yeah, Maiden Derby and Toaster, I think, is what has been mooted. And I can see it. Don't jump him up in grade. He's qualifies now for the Maiden Derby, and that obviously gives them then the opportunity to go for the Derby itself at Toaster. I think Paul has set out his stall there. It seems like a good plan to me. A couple of other very good winners on the night, including Riverside Scotch, ran very well from the inside for Rachel and Graham Holland, winning the 600 in a fast time. But again, we'll get back to a few of those maybe a little bit later on. You and Me, babe, is the bit you were talking about in the stairs race. We didn't see much of it. The camera joined them after about 150 yards. I think the camera got a bit lost at that stage, and she showed her four bend class. She powered her way to the front after making a few mistakes early and emerged a very comfortable winner. Double on the night for Paul Hennessy. We'll get again back to one or two of those later on. We'll probably end up discussing them as we go through the Winter Racing Festival second night, which is where we're going to start. And I suppose the best place to start is at the start. The opening race on the card went to Check for Cash, and it was completing a double at the festival for Carl Ramsbottom. And the lucky cashback syndicate, I'm going to call them, Tommy. It's not too long ago we were talking about the dog in the was it the Ledger? He got to the semi-finals or the final, and I had to do my cup up because I wasn't given a good mention to him. But yeah, Check for Cash. He's a real nice dog. Of always in these races where you have six inside seeds, it's always worth a glance to the outside of the track, to see what could maybe avoid any crowding on the inside. And as it was, Check for Cash and Ballymacbriar did that. They went around first and second. They served up a thriller, but in the end, Check for Cash kicked again from the third bend, having been joined by Ballymacbriar, and emerged a good winner. He's a nice dog, one to go to, one to have a bit of sport with in 2025, I would suggest.
Well, it definitely is, Ian, and it was a lovely show of early pace, but also, and just great sign of a dog that when you get challenged on the inside, the third bend is the easiest place in greyhound racing to lose 2 or 3 lengths. Kind of a slight little bump or something when something tries to go through along the inside. He actually held his line so well, just great determination. He's a smashing little dog. He has 5 wins now, and that's the biggest of them by a bit. I mean, 5,000 for the winner. That's a terrific pot. Great way to start today. Actually, start tonight.
Yeah, he's the type of dog, Declan. He's going to win loads of races, just given the
Yeah.
fact he's a good trapper, he's good early speed, and he showed the other night that he has that sort of that little bit of jealousy is not the right term, but he's
Bit of grit.
determination. Yeah, a bit of grit to him.
Yeah.
He is, and I'm not surprised that you got the two names mixed up because the two dogs are
Yeah,
actually very similar,
yeah,
And by the way, they were both great, well named because they're both great prices on the night. The one on Friday night in particular, I couldn't understand. Was it 5-1, 11-2 or something?
yeah.
But that was astonishing price,
I got chatting to Carl after racing on Saturday night, and he was obviously full of the joys at that stage, after having a
Yeah, of
double over the
course.
2 nights. And I said to him about Check for Sir. I said, "Does he always bark?" Or he says, "Oh, he says he's great." He says he goes mad in the traps. He says, and
That's how going the other bad.
everything around him always misses it. Everything
Yeah,
around him always misses. He said you could bet your life that he won't miss it, and
yeah,
because he goes mental in boxes, the other dogs do miss it. And like
absolutely, yeah,
yeah, like we saw Ballymac Finn missing the kick, and the dog in his inside is another good early speedster.
yeah.
But no, check for Sir got away in racing, and yeah, he won the veterans race on the Friday night. So a good weekend all in all for the Cashback Syndicate. But of course, Carl Ramsbottom, who, as I said, was in great form on Saturday night, and himself and Eugene Price both having a double, two great pals who were always together at Shelbourne Park. And as I said to Barry Call in our chat on Saturday night after racing, at least those lads are going to leave a few quid in Shelbourne. They
Yeah,
left a
yeah.
few quid behind the bar anyway. I can tell you that.
And the price dogs running very well as well, aren't they? That's a
Yeah.
kennel that's really struck form in recent weeks. So perfect timing.
Yeah, good timing. Well, we'll move on to the sprint. Tommy, we'll let you lead the way here because Road Exile, a dog we've spoken of, it seems like, for the last year and a half, we've been speaking about him quite a bit. He's a star over 4 bends. He's a bit of a star over 2 bends too. And while on Derby final night, he didn't get the start. He got the start on Saturday. And this was one of those races, and there was many of them, where this was over after a stride.
Well, he's half linked up coming out of traps. It's a perfect display of sprinting really, and of course he had the 5 dog on his outside, the Ballymac dog on his outside at the bin. It's the right place to have him in a sprint particularly. But like what a dog he's been. I mean, it's not about Saturday night really for a dog like him. It's just a whole career. He just wins and wins and wins. And I know at times I look to oppose him in the latter stages of competitions and whatever else, and that's fine. But like he just keeps bouncing back, and if there's an opportunity there that he should win, he seems to convert it, and that's what you love in a greyhound. If there's an
Yeah.
opportunity, you think, and that's not a runaway opportunity. I mean, there seemed to be a lot of support for the top dog second treasure, who was so impressive on was a Derby final night, and
Hmm.
then you had the likes of Lee Kursk, who we saw in Dundalk being so effective and had done really good trials. Geez, it's a terrific performance, but it's more than the performance for that dog. It's just a big career. He came out of Andy Lynch's here in Cork, and he's just a smashing. He's just a dog of a lifetime. You can say that about a lot of them, but that's the truth about a lot of them. First some owners or from trainers or whoever else or from breeders, whatever. It can be a dog of a lifetime that can produce the number of wins that he has and the consistency at the highest level for so long.
Yeah. Declan, you look at dogs that, the thousands and thousands and thousands of dogs over the last few years that have had 60 starts. And not too many have had 30 wins, like 30 from 60. Like, that's just an incredible figure. Like, Tommy said it, but just must be a joy to be involved in a dog like this.
Absolutely. And if you think about it, at the level he's at against really, really hot sprinters, that's all he's ever raced against.
Mm,
To have 50% against them, strike rate is incredible because, as you know, if you miss it at all, if you're even half slow coming out, they're gone. So it is an amazing strike rate, but he is, Tommy put it very well. He is a dog of a lifetime for connection. Surely he is.
I'd say Pat Buckley just opens the van. I'd say the dog jumps in. He gets to Shelbourne Park, jumps
Yeah.
out, gets himself into the kennel. Boom! You open the kennel. He'll walk the traps himself and jump in. And like you could set your watch by him. And I suppose that's what you want in greyhounds. It's just that consistency. Like as I said, 30 from 60 with 10 second place finishes and 9 third place finishes. Like it's just one of those. He'll turn up tonight and he'll make the frame. And if he hits the lids like he can, he'll probably win. And that's just That's all you want. Like this was back in the day. This would have been, oh, this is just a punting greyhound. Like you could just punt him every single night of the week, and you know you're going to get your money most nights because like while he was a short price the other evening, he wasn't too short a price. Like you could have backed him. And I'm just looking at his card as I speak. Evens 4 to 5, 4 to 5, and evens on the four races that there's SPs there. Like okay, it's probably not a great example, but there's plenty of nights when he's won at 3 and 4 to 1, and he's that type of dog. You could back him, no matter the company, given the early speed he has. No, it's just great achievement. Elite Kurtz did run on well for second spot. Good to see him back on the track. He obviously picked up a bit of a problem down at Curraheen over the four bends, but back to sprinting, and I'm sure he'll have plenty of. I'd say he'll have a say in plenty of big sprint competitions in 2025. The Ballymac Expo dog, I didn't know anything about the dog. He was a big price. Thought he ran very well. Tommy, you mentioned he was right bang there on the opening corner. He'll win loads of sprints too, given that sort of level of performance. We move on. The Winter Racing Festival Open Pitch 550. Again, these are all the sort of the 5 grand races to start off proceedings, and yet like there's real class on show. Grange Clare Lady, a daughter of Droopy Sydney and Susie Sapphire, and this was another case of early speed wins the races. She's just brilliant. She's a bitch that improved considerably through the year. She's improved for her racing. What I've noticed about her is while she's effective over 525, I think she's more effective over 550. She's probably not as natural a starter as her dam, but I'll tell you what, she's got terrific early speed, and she needs the longer run to the corner over the 550, while she doesn't necessarily need the extra 25 yards. But she got clear. She was never in danger of being picked up. I sort of mentioned Ardira Freya might close the gap from the third bend in commentary, but she's only returning after a long layoff, so that wasn't meant to be. Instead, it was Hawkfield Abbey that ran on very strongly, but it has to be said, Grange Clare Lady always looked in charge. Declan, she's going to be a win machine going forward, you'd imagine.
I think so. I think she's one that could keep improving. She just has that look about her. 550 is perfect. 343 sectional is very, very good. The Sporting Press Irish Oaks will be over 525. Unfortunately, that won't suit her. But listen,
Yeah.
she should be in the Derby if that time of year, if it's not her seasonal break. So yes, she's one. I just think she's going to keep improving. I think she's getting a little bit more consistent. Like at the very highest level, they can't win every week. That's simply the way it is. But she's getting better, and I think there's more progress being made with her.
Yeah, 1703 to the third bend in very cold, windy conditions. Like that just tells you how quick she's moving. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not quite Bucco's Diamond type sectionals, but there haven't been any that have been Bucco's
Not too many of those,
Diamond type
no.
sectionals. Tommy, she's just a true pro. As Declan said, she's only had the 16 starts. She does seem to be coming forward all the time. It's not going to take a huge jump for her to become a classic contender.
Oh, definitely not. Again, you said it right, Ian. She's not a fly out of traps kind of. But I was watching this live the other night. The display of early pace was really impressive because this was a hot race. This was a really good race, and she made it her own with that pace. And it actually took about 25 yards before she started to really accelerate and get on top a little bit and then drive on into the bend. I thought Silver Hill Freya also ran a bit better than her finishing position might suggest. She
Yeah.
was fourth. I thought she's really just a work in progress, quite inexperienced, quite green. Doesn't do things exactly right just yet. But I thought she's worth taking out as well. But the winner's just, she's just. I harp on about it. But that night down the laurels, I just had the biggest missed opportunity of all time with the wrong reserve.
Yeah, that is a missed opportunity, no question about it. We've spoken about that before. Well done to Grange Clare Ladies, who are connections, of course. Susie Sapphire is just a gift that just keeps on giving. Like she's thrown some really nice types, and of course, there's more litters on the ground. So hopefully, we'll see more stars emerging from her in the very near future. Moving on to the Winter Racing Festival Open 550. This was another 5 grand race, and we have to mention Fay Point Harvey. This was a dog, Tommy, where we both really liked him at the very start, and then I thought he hit his level. And I thought he was going to stick at that level. And, I'm not saying I ever sort of completely sort of dismissed him as a greyhound, but I just sort of thought that's him now. He's gone to where he can get to. And all of a sudden, it was like he was nearly listening, and he's developed this habit of popping out of boxes, getting to the front. And when he does get to the front, he's very, very hard to beat. The other evening, we knew we had the draw in his favour once he made a start because Phoenix Memphis is edging inwards, and we know Mairead's Prince and Infield Destiny aren't what you call natural starters. So if Fate Point Harvey did come away racing, he was going to emerge very quickly as the one to beat, and that's exactly what he did. He got to the front, and he had the right two dogs in behind him, Phoenix Memphis, Kapuka Warrior, neither of which were going to come from behind him, and Fate Point Harvey kicked again from the third bend. He's just a good, solid all-rounder. If he was in anyone else's kennel, he'd be number one or number two. But in Graham Holland's, I said number 15 the other night to Barry, he could well be number 20. And yet, he's a proper greyhound.
And he's got solid pace all around, hasn't he? I mean, the Kapuka Warrior has kind of outpaced him a bit down to third bend, after missing the kick, Kapuka Warrior ran a great race because showed some pace down to the third turn to kind of close it down to maybe about a length. But Fate Point Harvey, you're right. Like you can see exactly from that performance why when it's Derby class that it might be a struggle if he doesn't fly out. And I know like sometimes I get crabbed for pointing out the flaws in the greyhound when we're talking about whatever competition, the Ledger, the Laurel, the Derby, whatever we're talking about, because I'm just marking them all relative to what else is in the competition. You can see where that slight flaw may be. But like he's a terrifically fast dog and he's got all round pace. I know you're saying Kapuka Warrior wouldn't come from behind him, that's fair. But like he strode out impressively to the line as well. I think the track, you lads were there obviously. Track must have been back quite nicely the other night, was it?
I think it was just more cold. I think that was the issue. Yeah,
That's what I mean. The conditions in general.
yeah, it's definitely like it was definitely you could definitely take 20 off it. Like you know what I mean. Like it was probably more notable in the distance races when you look at the time there. But that's purely like it was one of those where it wasn't on the gauge. It wasn't that cold, but it felt an awful lot colder there with the breeze and just with a bit of dampness in the air. It was just a cool night.
Actually, well, we were flying in last night from Madrid, and it wasn't very warm over there either. But it was saying, Noel was even pointing out that it was saying it was 4 degrees in Ireland, expecting to land at 4 degrees, but felt like -4 because of the wind
Yeah,
chill. That's
yeah.
what, and that's when we got off the plane. Like tell you, it did feel like it. So it can look. Conditions can be like that. I know. It's probably not a great night to compare, but it probably highlights the clocks on the night. Probably highlight just what Buckhurst Diamond did over the course of 6 weeks in the Derby as well.
Yeah,
Like
it does, of
phenomenal
course.
stuff.
Declan, this Fate Point Harvey, like Tommy's talking about the clock there, he does everything right. 29.83. It's only 2 or 3 weeks ago he picked up Miami King in that epic contest in the Derby Plate, winning by a short head in 29.58. So that will tell you where the track is at. Like it's definitely 20 or 30 back from where it would have been in its best over the last month or two. And like you could probably take another 10 off it for like top of the summer going. So it's a good run by a really solid greyhound. 12 from 28. His record is there to be seen. Like he's turned into a real good greyhound.
He certainly has, and I tell you one thing: Graham Holland's a mighty trainer and everything else. But if he's 14 dogs better than that one, the cannon,
Yeah, well, yeah,
I'd be
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah, yeah.
surprised, mate. I tell you that
Let's.
one.
I probably should have phrased that differently. He's got 4 or 5 stars, and then he's got
Yeah,
10 dogs of this type of ability.
yeah.
You know.
But I will put this dog right up there. I wouldn't worry about clocks too much. He's a dog that does what he has to do. You know what I mean? He could produce a quicker clock, and he has done. If when he has to, he probably, he is very, very consistent, and he's very good, and he's a very good dog. And if things fell his way on a certain night, he could win any major prize if he got to
Yeah.
a final. Absolutely, yeah, yeah,
Like it just, but also he just, I just noticed that he did 17.43 to the third bend, which highlights just how fast Grange Clare Lady was going. Like
yeah,
she's
yeah.
she's nearly 6 lengths faster to the third bend. That's remarkable. Like when Fate Point did basically everything right, popped out, could have crossed the fence, leads early, 17.43. It almost doesn't seem real, but it just goes to show like he is staying on pretty strongly compared to Grange Clare Lady. Yeah, you'd expect that. In behind, Kapuka Warrior, just a model of consistency in Phoenix Memphis. But even when you mention those two names, Declan, for him to lead them dogs as easily as he did, tells you he's going well to the corner.
Absolutely, and look at the three dogs who were unplaced.
Mm,
That one, that was some race, and he basically dominated it. You know.
yeah. We'll move on. Excuse me. The fifth race on the card was the Championship 600, the first of the €10,000 races. I was really taken by this dog. Like obviously he's a dog that I've been jumping off a cliff with for quite some time, Untold Dollar. But his run here was just fantastic. I saw someone saying that he probably trapped better than he had been. I'm not sure he did trap much better than he
No, I
has
don't
been
think
doing,
so.
but I'll tell you what he did. He absolutely ran into that corner. Sing Along Dolly, the Bull Falcon were both fast in the stride, but this fellow just went around them onto the corner and he drove the bend. And he went from being a length in front to probably being 3 or 4 clear in a matter of 20 strides. It was so, so impressive. And once going to the front, never looked like he was going to be picked up. He ran so well on Derby final night over 5.75, and what noticeable that night was that, excuse me, he kept rolling to the escape, and that's exactly what he did here. Go
You're
ahead,
getting
Tony.
emotional
Excuse
even
me.
talking
Yeah.
about that dog.
I, so you talk. I'm going to mute and cough. Okay.
Well, like Declan, this is Ian's dog. I mean, we've been hearing him talking about Untold Dollar for forever. Definitely the dog's biggest fan. But I tell you, the beauty of this, right? The beauty of this performance, and I read your report, Ian, as well, and you were talking about how the long run up is suiting and all that sort of stuff, and it's right. But like the beauty of this is that we could tell that from an early stage. He did the clock in that big run in Curraheen Park, but against inferior dogs to what he's running against now, he hadn't the early pace to do it every night there. And if he was getting caught for a bit of dash and then run into the bend, and it's a very difficult track to operate over 5.25 if you're not braking. But so it's no surprise whatsoever. And sometimes you got to love this because if you're going to somebody who studies form or wants to look to try back a winner of a competition in the Derby or Laurels or whatever else, you've got to be looking at them and seeing what type of dog they are. This is exactly what he was telling us he was at the time. Phenomenal pace in terms of just overall ability, able to break 28 seconds, but it's just not going to happen every night when he doesn't have that early pace. I don't think he broke well at all the other night. I think he was nearly
No, he
last out of
didn't.
traps,
Yeah.
was he?
Mm.
And then like that pace into the bend was brilliant. But like it took literally, as you said, Ian, it took literally the whole length of the straight for him to get on top. But after that, it's a really impressive display. Like he's a smashing dog. But again, like I came down against him in the Derby, and and it sounded kind of harsh, but I was only just saying that competition wasn't the right fit for that dog. You know what I mean? Of course, you want to go for the Derby, to try it, but it's not the perfect fit for a dog. Even though he has the raw pace, he hasn't got the right pace for the Derby, and that's what it's showing up now. That's a savage display, in fairness to him.
Yeah. Massive run, and these one-off races like this over 5.75, 600, like he could mop them up. If there was more of
Yeah,
them, this is the type of dog. Like, if this dog comes in fresh into a contest like this now, whereas if you ran 600 yards again next week, I wouldn't be as keen to get involved, just given the fact that it takes so much out of a greyhound.
yeah.
But like, he has all the attributes needed to really star over 5.75, 600 yards. The running into the corner from that slightly wider draw definitely suited him as well. Like he really did drive across that corner, and he put it beyond any doubt as early as the second bend. And when you're looking at a race with Sing Along Dolly, Boyle Sports, Bob, Ballymacgizmo, the track record holder, the Bull Falcon, an extra gain thrown in for good measure, like Declan to win a race as early as he did, like this. Like it tells a lot. Boyle Sports Bob didn't get into the race early enough. He didn't get the start he probably needed to race prominently. He ran a huge race to finish as close as he did in third. Like he's only beaten a short head for a second spot. He's only beaten a length and a half behind the winner. Like it's an incredible run from where he was. Ballymacgizmo has all of a sudden just sort of come back to life. Like big run in Shelbourne Park, 28-20 last week, and again a big run the other evening. It didn't happen for Sing Along Dolly and the Bull Falcon. They did each other, but Untold Dollar just put them to the sword.
Yeah, well, the Bold Falcon and Sing Along Dolly went to the corner with him. And I should say he cornered well there. There was a hard dog story here, and that's Sing Along Dolly, who was completely chopped off.
Yeah.
But like he did outpace the track record holder to the bend, you know what I mean? But the cutting across the corner was the winning of it, definitely. And he on the night his best dog in the race, no question. Ball Sports does leave himself with a bit to do at this level, even at this trip. So things have to fall for him. But it was a great performance by the winner. Absolutely, he's a superb dog.
I'd be keen on seeing Boyle Sports got Bob again over this trip. I think even by his own standards, just didn't get racing quick enough. I think he can go up a bit faster. I thought he'd be prominent into the corner. I didn't think he'd lead Untold Dollar, but I thought there was a chance he could have turned maybe second or third. As it is, he enters the back straight in the last spot. And you look at the dogs, he's actually passing down into the third and fourth bends. Like he goes beyond, he goes around sort of extra gain and Sing Along Dolly. He takes over from the Bull Falcon off on the run in. That tells you how strong he actually is. is like, yeah, it was a big run by Boyle Sports Bob. And again, I'd
Mm.
be very keen to see him back over this trip in the future.
Oh yeah, that is his trip.
Yeah,
That
no
is his
question
trip,
about it.
definitely. Yeah, yeah.
We have to mention it. It was it wasn't the first of Graham Holland's winners, but it really did get the ball rolling for him. Fay Point Harvey had won. Now all of a sudden, Untold Dollar is after winning. He's two on the night, like having sort of been quiet in the first three or four races. All of a sudden, it, the juggernaut that is the Riverside Kennels gets
The
moving.
big guns are out. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was a big night, of course, for Callum and John Purdy as well, both of whom were there on Friday and Saturday night. And they had, well, what you'd call a pretty good 20 minutes, because a few minutes later, the IGOBF National Puppy Stake, I was very much in favour of Lemon Joey on the night. I thought 1 and 2 would clash. And, in fairness to Davy Sutton, who works closely with Graham Holland and is very friendly with John and Callum, he was telling me on Friday night that there's a start in this dog, Untold Rufia, and he needed to produce it because BallymacEli definitely was going to take a step right. As it was, this was another one of those races, Declan, that was over after a half stride. Once he holds helps Kitty into the opening corner, the race is over. He's a really nice dog, and of course, first runner for David Byrne in his first competition, and it's a pretty good one to win the National Puppy Stake. Great start to his training career.
It's fantastic. It's a great story, And Hope's Kitty has pace. I mean, Hope's Kitty went to the bend, but with that brilliant dog the bitch that Dylan Van McManus owns.
Juby's
You know, what I mean,
Kathleen, yeah.
she went to the bend with horse. That's how fast she is. So for the winner to outpace her into the corner, that's a serious run. And it was a tremendous performance on the night. You had the feeling if he did break that something like that was going to happen, and he
Yeah.
did. Perfect.
He's a nice dog, Tommy. Obviously, there's more to come from him. He's only a January 23. Again, as Declan and I said, it was probably over after two strides. He was a big drifter on the night. He's returned 11-4. Someone tells me he was available at 4-1 in places on the night, which seems a huge price, but a Greyhound who had basically been the star of the previous two rounds. While he got beaten in the first round, he showed all sorts of pace, and then 28-15 in the semi-finals just looked a really decent Greyhound.
Yeah, look, it looks like he's gone the right direction in many ways. He's getting away that little bit better. It's a 208 the other night, which is probably on the night. I don't know. I haven't compared it to other dogs, but probably on the night in the conditions, it was probably very sharp. Type of dog that we might be talking about as an early pacer in a couple of months' time or 3 or 4 months' time when he comes out again and starts to get a bit of time on his back and a little bit more bit of sunshine in early spring. He's I didn't know anything about him coming into the competition. Nothing about him really at all, and he's just impressed. He really has. I thought the runner up ran a cracking race as well. Actually,
Yeah, huge
a lot
race.
of pace, a lot of raw ability. Lost Ian.
Hello.
Sorry,
Are you back?
I dropped out there for a second. Beg your pardon. I think my Wi-Fi was acting up a bit. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're
go
back
ahead.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking there about the runner-up BallymacEli. This was a dog who we thought was all about early speed, had to lead, missed a kick the other night. It's down as a stumble traps. I'm not sure if I quite go that far, but he certainly didn't get the start he needed. For him to finish second in those circumstances was pretty big from him. I just wouldn't be surprised, like given his age, if this is a project dog for Liam Dowling, this could turn into a really good Greyhound. Looked like a dog that would certainly stay 550 yards coming from off the pace to pick up Hope's Kitty for second spot. Big run by the second. And again, no surprise to see him develop into a proper dog next year, Tommy.
I think 100% he's going to develop the proper dog. He has a nice bit of experience, but I think he's going to improve. I think he's going to improve nicely. I think that the project will be for next year as it has been. This is all about just getting experience and letting the dog do what he wants and find his feet a little bit. I love the performance to finish second, actually, to be quite honest about it.
Yeah, Declan, it was a strong contest. But, like the two outsiders were She Be the One and Hope's Kitty, both of which have looked really promising. Like obviously we saw Hope's Kitty run in the Puppy Oak. She's got some cracking provincial form as well. This She Be the One can run. She's a really nice type. Like it sort of went a little bit under the radar her semi-final run. She flashed up, she got balked on the corner. To qualify in third was a huge run. And I think Kate and Leo Dunphy are going to have some real sport with this lady.
Of course, and we see down the years with puppy finals and this kind of stuff that it's often ones who finish out the back that
Yeah.
when you look back a year or two later, they're the ones that go on to go. But I think all six here are exceptional. I like Liam Downing's one very much. And now he's got getting experience at the big nights in Shelbourne. He can only keep improving for sure.
Yeah. He's definitely a dog. I'd be focused on keeping him in Shelbourne, getting that bit of experience, and again, to step up to 550 is only going to aid him next year. You'd suggest Lemon Joey and Droopy's Deploy, both dogs who I'm a big, big fan of. Just didn't happen for them the other evening. They missed the kick. I don't know, was there a bit of someone suggested there might have been a bit of movement in the boxes, hence the 210 sectional, because it looked faster than that. So who's to say? And it was a bit of a staggered start, so there could have been movement in boxes. Something might have charged, but potentially Lemon Joey missed the charge the traps. But both Lemon Joey and Droopy's Deploy, they are very much on an upward curve, and I think we'll see plenty more of them. In fact, we'll see plenty more of all six finalists. But again, a huge congratulations to David Byrne on his first major success with his first major Greyhound. I know they've one or two coming up as well. And again, to owners Callum and John Purdy, great to see them over at Shelbourne Park supporting their Greyhounds. And yeah, what a double! It was some 20 minutes, to pick up 22,500 in the space of 20 minutes. Nothing wrong with that. We move on to the Winter Racing Festival Championship 525. And in many ways, Tommy, I suppose this was the one of the great stories of the night. It was a third winner for Graham Holland and the other Kobe, but like it's the other Kobe that's the story. Here we are, Derby 2023. He had been retired to stud. He was brought back this year for the English Derby, and all of a sudden he turned up basically everywhere, with the exception of the Derby. He was at his brilliant best again the other evening. The 27.99 trial was evidence of the fact that he was going to be in good nick. He had last been seen in the Constellation Laurels on that absolutely treacherous night down at Carraheen with the hock deep ground and whatnot. He finished down the field, but this was a great way for the other Kobe to return to action. And I said it the other night to Barry Call, listen, whether the owners decide to keep going or not, but it would be a lovely way for him to finish.
It's yeah, I think I read your report about it. I think you were saying that there might be one of his best performances. Now, his semi final last year was exceptional. Semi final the
Yeah.
Derby was exceptional, and obviously the Derby final itself. But he's just a brilliant dog. I think at this stage of his career, and I don't know the circumstances behind the break or whatever else. But I think at this stage of his career, you have to mind a dog like that, and you have to kind of pick and choose your battles. And I know he did a really fast trial, but like if you want to learn what an absolutely and utterly professional performance is, have a look at that the other night. He hardly left the rails. He flew out. He dominated start to finish. Never saw another Greyhound, and there was never another hope of any Greyhound getting close to him. Like this is a proper race. Carrick Aldo's in there. Our old pal Carrick Aldo's in there, and he could never, could never get involved. The other Kobe showed his Derby class, and despite advancing years, he's just an absolutely terrific dog. What a joy! I mean, I thought the training performance last year was exceptional to win the Derby, and it really was. But like a dog like that, I mean, it must be a joy to train. I know Jennifer has it and Graham has it now, whatever else, but like it just must be a joy for anybody to have a Greyhound like that, whether he wins a Derby or not. But a dog that will come out and produce no matter what. It was like you wrote it up, Ian, as I think probably the display tonight. I'd 100% agree with it. It's just great to see something like that.
Yeah, like it's more as much about what it's all about. Like 197,
Yeah.
1581, 2812. Declan, if I told you that this dog was 20 months, you'd be going, Jesus, this must be nearly favourite for next year's Derby. Like that's the type of run it was. It was just absolutely flawless.
Well, as Tom said, like 208 on the night of dinner would be a good section. Like 197, that must be the fastest of the year, nearly.
It's up there, yeah.
And then 1585 as well. So he was traveling. He was
Yeah.
traveling and never left the rail. A fantastic performance. He is some Greyhound. I mean, he was definitely the best dog in last year's Derby. There's no doubt about it. Semi-final and final proved that. And it was some Derby last year, but he was exceptional. And that was a fair race on Saturday too. You know what I mean? So
And like
brilliant, just brilliant.
he's gone 4.5 years of age, Declan. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And
yeah.
now, like obviously we're coming into December. I don't know whether we'll see him again. Listen, I'd love to see him again, but at the same time, like if you are going to finish, like, isn't wouldn't that just be the great way to finish?
It'll be hard to improve on that one.
Yeah, very hard to
And
improve on.
and
It's difficult.
and you've already won a Derby.
Yeah.
So like but Look, if
Do you know
if the
what?
dog is keen for
It's
them,
difficult to pull up stumps from the dog and still run like
I
that.
know, I
yeah,
know, I know.
yeah,
The one thing I did say on Saturday to Barry was that, he said, well, the Gold Cup's only in a couple of months' time when you think about it. And like, what's 2 months going to be? I said, yeah, but the thing about all year was he was brilliant in the
It's a
early,
huge amount to
he
him.
was brilliant in the early rounds of two or three competitions this year. And he just sort of ran out of steam. And I think you sort of have to pick and choose your battles with him now at this stage. If you are going to keep going, it's the one-off races you'll be aiming at, really. Or maybe the likes of, a race of champions, two runs, two quick runs, boom, boom. Select stakes, perhaps, boom, boom, in and out. You know what I mean? But no, listen, whether we see him or not, I don't know. But
I'm just,
either way,
I,
I'll be happy.
I'm just wondering where he fits in Graham Holland's 20. Is he 1, 2, 10, 17?
I tell you what, that's a good question. All I can say is he's in the top five.
Yeah, what a dog, what a
What a
greyhound.
dog. The Winter Racing Festival Championship 550, and the one sad note on the occasion was that Nocky and Dazzler lost his action around the opening two bends. Hopefully it's muscular. He did gallop on Declan, so that was suggested it is muscular. I don't know whether we'll see him back on the track or not. He'll be well looked after. I'm sure he's more than comfortable at this stage and probably has been operated on or is getting ready to be operated on. It's a sad way for his illustrious racing career to end if it is over. But we have to mention the laddie Da and Cheap Sandwiches. Cheap Sandwiches, it was always going to be tough after the Derby to sort of produce that sort of run again. I'm sure he got that week's break after the Derby and probably just left in his bed. And then you try and get them back out again, get a gallop into him, and try and get him ready for this night. He was never going to be as sharp as he was in the Derby. And yet he went close. And even when he was headed by Delady Da, he did try and come back at him. Like, he showed his bravery and guts in defeat. But the presence actually of Nocky and Dazzler was the upsetting part for him, in a sense where he came away racing so well, Nocky and Dazzler, that sort of Cheap Sandwiches didn't get the opportunity to get to the front. Seven Beach went up well on the outside, but after the opening bend trouble with Nocky and Dazzler losing his action, the laddie Da is in a perfect position off the second bend. And you got that sense it was more when rather than if he was going to strike the front. He did strike the front around the last two bends, but still had to dig in because not just Cheap Sandwiches coming at him. Thought Super Fast Gordon probably ran his best race in a long, long time in third.
yeah. It was a strange. Well, it's unfortunate, of course, what happened to King Dazzler because he was on his way to win it. I have no doubt about that. But as you say, hopefully it's not any Patrick Guilfoyle. He'd be well looked after. The winner is a great dog. The lad at I mean, to win the English Derby in the summer and to come back on a night like that and produce a race like that is outstanding. And that's the great thing of greyhound racing now. All the top dogs are racing all year round. And that's fantastic. And I think people like Graham Holland and Liam Downing deserve great credit for that because they are setting the standard there. That's what they do. A few hard luck stories, other hard luck stories. Cheap Sandwiches ran a great race. I mean, he's runner up in the Derby to one of the greatest dogs of all time. And he's running up here to an English Derby winner, this year's English Derby winner. So he couldn't be doing much more than what he's doing. But the lads, I'm sure, will accept when you have a dog that's good and it's great to have one. Every time you're racing, there's five dogs just as good as you lining up against you, and there's only one winner. So that is going to happen. I think every dog in that race in different ways ran with credit. Seven Beach missed the cake and was struggling a bit then. And then the mess, as you say, on the first when the other dog got injured, it just things didn't open up for him. And if you're going behind, things have to open up for you. But the lad, he drove into that third bend and he was going to win that race. You knew when he was going into that bend, the way he went into it. But as you say, Cheap Sanders came back at him. Pat Buckley's dog ran a tremendous race as well. It was a great, great race and a great winner.
Yeah, the laddie Da, Tommy, when you're talking about dogs of the year, he's in the argument, obviously enough. He'll certainly be in the discussion. He's probably unfortunate that we had the likes of the Boccos Diamond, Tono Charlies of this world, Clonbrine Treaty, won two classics, of course. But like the laddie Da, what a year he's had. Just a credit to his connections, but also you got to mention the ones in behind. They all ran their race basically. It's sad that Nocky and Dazzler, went wrong when he did, but big run by the laddie Dan, and just a joy to behold in full stride. I suspect Liam, his dogs were probably in a bit of a cloud. He sort of went very quiet there for a month or two prior to the Derby, and even when his dogs did come back, like the laddie that only seemed to be finding his stride towards the end of the Derby. We saw him produce a big run, consolation Derby final to win, and again, this is evidence that he's probably still returning to his very best. And if he was racing again this week or next week, I think I'd be getting involved. I think he's just getting back to his very best.
He's a hardy dog as well as classy. He's like you know he's because of the way he tends to race. He has to be that way. Um, yeah, like he doesn't need to win anything at this stage after winning an English Derby, being an Irish Derby semi-finalist and a quarter finalist. He's I think we forget that he's been two Irish Derby finals, been to the latter stages of them, and won an English Derby. This is he's just yeah, just there's something. I think you're right, Ian. I think the sense that he's type one that thrives on racing. He had a bit of a break. You're right about Liam Dowlings too. I mean, there are people saying to me, he has nothing down there. He's no good dogs down there anymore, and that's what's wrong. And I'm going,
Yeah,
what? Are you joking? Are you joking me? They didn't just all of a sudden just disappear, like they didn't just
yeah,
do
yeah.
thin air. And then they just were. He wasn't racing them. In fairness, he wasn't racing them.
Mm.
It's not like they were going out and running poorly or getting beaten. They just weren't seem to be racing. Prominently, certainly the top dogs in the kennel. But he's been a star from over the last how many, what, 14 months probably, or ever more than that, since the Derby last year was a bit earlier. So 14, 15 months, he's been an absolute star. Cheap Sandwiches continues to mature, if you ask me.
Yeah.
There's still more maturity in that performance. I think, I mean, that's what I like about him. He's progressing a lot as he goes along, race by race. I know he's Derby semi-finals. It seems absurd to say that. I still think he's maturing. He's shown strings to his bow that I really like. Desperately unfortunate about knocking Dazzler, but what a story he was this year for Dan O'Reilly. Like, I mean, it's been one of the great stories. But with the laddie dying, if he's not on the short list for Dog of the Year, we'd have to have a chat with ourselves afterwards.
Yeah,
Maybe think
yeah,
this isn't the game for us.
yeah. No, it's just a proper greyhound. Yeah, there's no question about a
Yeah.
proper greyhound. And yeah, I agree with everything you said there about Cheap Sandwiches. In many ways, this was one of his most impressive runs. Again, showing a real level of maturity. And Declan, I suppose it's he's every right to be prominent already in the Derby betting for 2025. We know that there's plenty of young greyhounds going to hit the ground next year. I'm already hearing the rumours, but of the established dogs next year, you'd suspect if he comes to the Derby in the same sort of form he was this year, he'll be a player.
The established dogs will all be there next year, and
Mm.
they are going to take some beating. We have some crop this year of top class greyhounds. I know there's always great young pups coming in, and that's tremendous. They'd want to be good. They
they,
would want to be very good.
they
Yeah,
want to be very good. I
yeah,
agree with you. I think this year, the crop that's come through this year, and they are all relatively young. Like they'll only be 3 years of age for next year's Derby. They'll be
absolutely. Yeah.
at what we would have said at one time as peak age. You know, like just a really, really good crop of greyhounds around. And yeah, throw on top what's going to emerge in Tralee and Clonmel and Kilkenny next year, and all of a sudden, oh, next year's Derby, boys. Next year's
Bring it
It's
Derby.
on.
funny.
Let's not wish our life away.
No, but it's funny. You remember we were talking maybe 5 or 6 weeks, a couple of months before the Derby, saying that where there are all those top greyhounds around. Sometimes that's the perfect arena, the perfect field for these dogs to come in and then jump in and say, "Hey, we're the top dogs here. Look at what we can do." And that's what happened. That's what happened this year. That's what happened. There was a gap in the market, and all these young dogs came in and said, "Hey, look at how good we are." And then you had the likes of the laddie that keeping them honest all the way through. A dog that was in last year's Derby semi-final. So, I mean, it developed into from what we. It wasn't that we thought there were nothing there, but just there were unknowns, and they became stars in the space of 6 weeks. So it's been a brilliant couple of months, to be honest, for racing.
This is a point where you do pat yourselves in the back because we definitely agreed on the fact that I think I said about a month and a half, 2 months before the Derby that the Derby winner will be a dog that hasn't had 10 races yet because there was a real crop of those young dogs coming through and you knew something was going to improve out of sight through the Derby. Like, obviously Bacco's Diamond did it, but there was 2 or 3 dogs that could have done it. Cheap Sandwiches was one. Callaway, Kinnegare, they finished first, second, and third. At that point when we said it, none of them had those 10 races on their card. So, it was that year I had that feeling. Whereas already next year you suspect that this group will be a much more how would we say, a formidable established group than the group we had this year, which we felt that there were sort of the legs were falling off them. Whereas this next year, it could be a very different scenario. Obviously, it depends on what a lot of water to go under the bridge before then. But yeah, I think if all stays well with most of these dogs, we're going to have a special derby next year. Moving on,
Tell
the
you,
winter racing. Go ahead, Tommy.
I'd like to have a dog that could get to next year's Derby quarter final.
Yeah, yeah, we had some Derby quarterfinals this year. It was as deep as I can ever remember. The Winter Racing Festival Championship pitch 525. A short grip was installed, a warm favourite here. Again, the step back to 525 yards. It sometimes takes them a run or two to get used to the boxes. She didn't take the flyer that she can really take. She ran a big race in the feet, but is she there as she showed in the early rounds of the Derby and just before the Derby as well, and one or two one-off races? She's very, very plucky. Declan, you would have seen plenty of this lady over the last 2 months. It's just a lot to like about her. And a second winner over the 2 nights for Eugene Price. Colin Rosbottom, his great pal, is half owner, and of course Rosemary Price, the trainer. Is she there? Really nice type.
Absolutely, and deserving winner on the night. Rana Cracker got out, went, and she does stay. I mean, it was close enough to finish. Short grip was coming back at her, and so on, and was a length, and a half a length. So side note, but she showed the right attitude. She was in front, and she made sure she stayed there. Well named, actually. Is she there? She was very good. She was very,
Yeah,
very good. Yeah.
you said it, right attitude. She's a really willing attitude, this lady.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
tailed to Eugene and Carol after racing on Saturday night. She keeps going, keeps going, keeps going.
Yeah.
Carol looked at me and said, "What are you doing? You look like a woodpecker." But anyway, that's another story. Tommy, just a really giving display. She just kept on finding, kept on finding. I said in commentary about halfway down the back straight, this is going to be a tough nut to crack. And that's exactly what she was, because she's not going to give in. She's going to keep going to the line.
It's a good way to put it, because it was one of the races on the night where the result was still up in the air nearly all the way to the line. And that was the beauty of that race. It was a really good race. She stepped out right after about 10 yards and then moved in a little bit again, go up the bend, but she got her line into the bend that she wanted, got around. She's only a length in front, and it's not just one Greyhound chasing her. There's about three of them that are very close by, and any of them could have, attacked her position on the inside, outside, and gone to the third bend. Really good race and a really good doughty performance. But an 8-1, I suppose, if you were on her, you were getting a nice touch out as well.
Yeah, she was even bigger. I think she was bigger during the week, and she was certainly bigger on the night in places. I know Teddy Hegarty was telling me that one punter came in and had 40 or 50 quid in her, and then rolled it up on the next three favourites. That's not a bad touch now, I'll tell you that. That's is she there? Yeah, short grip ran a fine race in second spot. She's been a star for her connections for quite some time. And Dina Schnorra back in third. On to the 10th race, the Winter Racing Festival Championship 750. And this was won by JT Craze, obviously owned by John Turner and Lee Craze. Lee, of course, had owned the good winner of the previous evening, Lenny's Desire, and trained by Paul Hennessy, who had a very good festival. 3 winners over the 2 nights. And the plan for Paul for quite some time was to put this dog over 750 yards. Kevin was a little bit suspicious that the trip would be a bit beyond him, but I'll tell you what, he's looked pretty much a natural. The son of Ballymac Cash Out and Ballymac Minton had to work harder for the early lead, and the time wasn't sensational the other evening. But as I said the other evening to Barry, this is a dog where you can see in Corncucullen next year, he could be going the guts of a second faster, top of the ground in better conditions. He has proper 4-bend pace, and he needed it because Hookham, who was himself a Produce Stakes runner-up, led him, and then JT Craze took him on the run passing the stands. Once he went to the front, he never really looked in danger. Crescent Emily ran on strongly through beaten rivals, has to be said, because with the exception of Kinturk Road, there was no dog we'd go, well, this will be finishing fast. Like, we knew Penny's Links probably had to lead. Hookham certainly had to lead. Coulivanny Otto, in what was a 6-bend debut, he always was going to have to lead. The 41-46 trial reads well, but if he was really staying it strongly, I suspect he would have gone faster given his 4-bend pace. So once JT Grays got to the front and you saw the 2 ladies out the back battling for position, he was always in pole position, Tommy, and that's what happened. He went on to win pretty comfortably by 2.5 lengths. Big run in second spot by Crescent Emily. I really like her as a stare.
Yeah. Well summarised, Ian, because I thought actually, I know you said he had to work a bit harder to get the lead, but in fairness to Hookham, he did move off the second bend and kind of
Yeah.
leave a
A
huge
yawning
gap
gap,
for,
as they say, yeah.
yeah, exactly. But you know what? It's always like this on the likes of Derby Final Night or Winter Racing Festival. When you get a 750 or whatever, you'll find the dogs in there with exceptional early pace, and apart from with the exception of maybe a 2-on or Charlie, most stayers are going to have to. It's not a perfect makeup for them in some ways because you have dogs that can possibly get in the way. But JT Craze showed plenty of class again. Again, you're right. I think if you can come through races like this, you can be a real player in all the top 750s competitions next year. That if that's the route they want to go down with them.
Yeah,
Um,
because
I
they can
wouldn't.
certainly he could be like a Price's Jet. He could be that sort of versatile performer. They could still have a crack at the English Derby with this dog. That's
I
the way
don't
he
think. Yeah,
is.
yeah. I don't think they're going to nail the colours to the mast quite yet and say he's a pure six-pen dog. I don't think that's the way they're going to go. I don't know. I haven't talked to Paul or Kevin ranting about it, but like I can't imagine he's too classy to say we're just going to go this. There's other options that he can be deeply competitive in over four bends. So, just a really good dog, and I suppose he was the start of what was a nice little roll up for that punter you were talking about. But just for favourite backers in general, it kind of got them out in the night. I'd say fairly well ahead.
Yeah, Declan, not too many people saw exactly what he did in Derby Final Night because the video wasn't there. The video went down just at the wrong time as they're going to traps. But I've never seen a dog as far clear as he was passing the stands over 750 yards that night. Now, obviously, there was a little bit of traffic in behind, but it was purely down to his absolute like exceptional pace, like a 13:49 or 13:60 sectional that night. This was his third run over six bends and his third pretty decisive success. He's a really nice type.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I thought the two, from a betting viewpoint, the two ones for the weekend, the whole weekend, were JT Craze and Bombay Pat. They to
Mm.
me just absolutely stood out in their current form. And what Kintorp Road has been sensational, and she won the current the year before that. But she at this level has to lead really at this stage of her career. And once JT what was in front. Hookham is a serious dog. I wouldn't have him as a 750 dog now, to be quite honest with you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And once he was second to him, he was always going to pick him up. I'm not sure, but what Tom, I think if you're a very good six-man dog, like a really exceptional one, I'd nearly keep him out because there's plenty of things now. And there's big nights like this as well. This another 10,000 race, wasn't it? So anyway, but whatever. It's a nice choice to make. But a very, very good dog. He stood out in that race before, and he stood out after. He was exception. Second dog ran very well, certainly Crescent Emily. Yeah, very well too.
Yeah, he she's a really nice stare. I highlighted her prior to racing to Barry Call and thinking, maybe she might get the gaps if one of the early pacers did get to the front and didn't get home. She was the one that was guaranteed to be staying on like a train. Sadly, it was too late, and of course, typically I didn't do the trio like 2-5 field. That would have been an ideal one for me. Sadly, I didn't back it, but sure, you can't back them all. JT Cray is a good winner, 10-11, and in hindsight, that was a perfectly fair price. He's a good winner.
Listen here now, mentioning Barry, there's one of five nights winners we certainly better
Oh, we
talk
better. Oh,
about.
yeah, we'll mention that now. We'll mention that. We'll get to that.
Okay,
Barry did actually produce the line of the weekend in our
go
little
on.
spiel before racing on Saturday night. He was talking about how Paul Hennessy had a double on the Friday night. He says, great training achievement to have two winners in the festival. He says, only one more winner than me, which I thought was very good.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
was good, though, in fairness. It got me going. It got me tickled. No, JT Craze, I'm excited to see what he'll do next year. I really
Yeah,
am.
yeah.
He's got so much pace, and I have no problem in a six-bend dog stepping back in trip. Listen, I would target all the top six-bend competitions, but why, like a 550-yard race isn't gonna. It's only a gallop to him at this stage. You know what I mean? He'd take it in his stride, and it'd be interesting to see how he does perform. Often these six-bend races certainly happen with Price's Jet. It really does sort of fill them with confidence. We saw Price's
Absolutely.
Jet
And
going to an English Derby final, having once won a Corn Cullen, so it can be done.
he'd be a serious 600 dog.
Yeah.
Very
Oh,
definitely.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. He definitely could target the Shelbourne 600. No question about
yeah,
that. We've already seen him excel over the 575-yard trip. So you'd
yeah,
imagine it's a natural progression. We move on to the 11th race in the card. And this was one the punter certainly came for. And you can see why one of my favorite dogs of the year, Ballyhooly TJ. And Tommy, this was men against boys, really, wasn't it? Like,
Oh,
Magical Sapphire got loose and Lilac Tree's chasing him, but like he only actually hits the front about 10 yards into the fifth bend, and yet he
mhm.
was 101 off the fourth turn, shall we say, as they entered the back straight, and the way he just cruised up to them and just ran away from them, it was. Oh, it was like watching one of these sort of dour stairs in a 3 mile chase in heavy going. Just one horse that handles the ground and the rest can't. And he just like he wins by 16 and a this fellow can rock up and win a big competition over 750 yards. He has that sort of pace and power.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. He kind of it's one of those performances that makes you question things you think you know about racing. I'm actually listening to a book in Audible at the moment about the dirtiest race in history. The 100 meters at the 1988 Olympics, and they're talking about the way Carl Lewis used to finish his races relative to Ben Johnson, and that it wasn't that he was quickening up at the end of races, he was decelerating at a slower rate than the rest of them. Like, I
Mm.
mean, if Ballyhooly TJ decelerating from the fifth bend, what are the rest of them doing? They're turning around, because 16 and a half lengths from their home is absolutely incredible. But he's a half brother to Beach Avenue. I mean, he's got phenomenal ability, and it was actually, you know what? Sometimes you mightn't get too excited about these 850 races, and like, we have to say that Drewby's Comrade just didn't perform on the night. It wasn't whatever was just nothing happened for Drewby's Comrade, who was his market rival. But like, it was a joy to watch the way he just went careered away from. I can't say quickened away because they are decelerating, but he quickened away from them to a large degree from the fifth bend. It was deeply impressive.
Yeah, obviously trained by Tom O'Neill, Declan. I'd be if I was Tom now, I'd be on to John Joe going, listen, any chance I can stay in Jackdaws next year for a couple of weeks when the TV trophy's on in the UK? Because if there's one out there to beat him, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, whatever chance they had over 750 against him, 850, it was absolutely made for him. Magical Sapphire ran a cracker actually, but she wasn't going to get that trip, especially against the likes of him. So yeah, he's a yeah TV trophy, anything in England, any the long distance. As you say, if he went in the 1,000 yard thing here, the
Yeah.
former Ted Hegarty Barton, sure, nothing else to turn up, I would think. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, it
Not so
was it
bad.
was it was pretty special, the ground he
Yeah,
put between
yeah,
them. And someone said to me after the race, was that a track record? I said, no, no, it's miles off the track record. But I said it's a hell of a run. Like, given the cold and the wind, and you look at the track times, like 47:40, you take 40 or 50 off that. Like, he's basically there on the track record. Huge, huge run by a dog who looks like he'd stay forever. Yeah, he's a natural. I throw him into the Shelbourne 600 because he does finish like a train over the 600-yard trip. It's not as
why
if he's going to
not?
find
Yeah,
himself in traffic. Like, he's going to be off the pace in that sort
yeah,
of race
yeah,
and picking his own spot. And he ran so well in the Yvonne Barry 600. I think he grabbed third in the closing yards. He actually came from
yeah.
6 or 8 lengths behind Magical Sapphire that night over 600 yards. So I don't know how she was expected to hold him over 850 yards. But yeah, listen, throw him into that, and then you pick and choose your battles over 750, 850, 1,000 yards.
Mhm.
Again, I'd definitely be very tempted to bring him across the water for the crack of the TV trophy. I'm not even sure where it is or when it is, but I'll tell you something. He'll be very, very hard to beat if he turns up in this sort of form. Now to the 12th and final race on the card, and the 12th or 24th race of the festival, and it was the Winter Racing Festival Championship 575. Declan, you've already said that Bombay Pat, you were very much in his camp. I feared that he wouldn't get home, but I suspected that he'd be far enough clear. Now, as it was, Elite Josh and Carmack King, had they been drawn the other way around, I think it would have been a very, very close finish. Carmack King and Elite Josh sort of just, I think they bumped each other about 4 or 5 times in the race. Carmack King absolutely hammered home. He's beaten 2 lengths, and I'd say he's in front by the 600-yard line. I'd love to see him back over this sort of trip. Love to see him in the Shelbourne 600. But Bombay Pat, he showed his class. Again, he didn't take a flyer. He's probably about the fourth or fifth dog to hit the ground, Declan. But he does have, he has sprinting early speed. Like, he put distance between himself and a talented field, took charge down the back straight as you'd expect. The long run home, is an issue, but I'll tell you what, if it's one-off races over 575, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm not even sure the long run home. I think he could have produced more if he had to. I think he's an outstanding dog, to be honest with you. He was one of the ones that could have won the Derby this year if things had fallen his way. He didn't break well. You're quite right about that. And like Untold Dollar, the long run to the bend certainly didn't do him any harm. That's one way you could put it, you know. But once he was in front, he was going to win. That's how good I think he is anyway. I think he's an exceptional greyhound, and he ran very, very well. Very good. Carmack King, that's very interesting. I don't know, I always had the impression Carmack King was some kind of young dog coming through, and he's actually had 30 races already.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolute middle distance. That seems to be his game now, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
He probably doesn't have the speed to match the Derby type dogs, Carmack King, but again, over 575, 600 yards could make a real difference to him because he has the pace to pace up. Again, himself and Lee Josh bumped a few times. I just thought the way he ran his or finished off his race and ran into the escape, and it's in the pedigree. Like his brother, I think Georgie Roche is a brother of him who wants 850 yards, not 750 yards, 850 yards. He's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
really
Well,
doughty stayer. So there's obviously stamina in the pedigree. But as you said, like Bombay Pat, there's an argument to suggest that he's probably the second best dog in the country. You know what I mean?
yeah,
He ran an unbelievable race in the Derby semi-final. He's desperately lucky not to qualify for the final. It's just been that first five strides have been his issue, or even the
yeah,
first two
yeah.
strides, because he has blistering early speed. It's just his trapping ability that sort of let him down on a couple of occasions. But no, there's no question going forward for next year's Derby, he's already amongst the leading fancies. He's that sort of class. Tommy Bombay Pat, if you backed him, it was a joyous spectacle from the second bend. He never really did look like getting picked up, especially with the two closest pursuers sort of getting in each other's way a bit. Classy performance to end the night, and a four-timer for Graham Holland.
I wouldn't disagree with you that that it could have been a Cameron King could have got very close had he, he swapped them around himself and Elite Josh maybe just didn't get that bit of a run at the second bend. Seemed to go in on top of the two dog Elite Josh and get a bump and all that. But Bombay Pat is that's not his best performance, even though it's a really really good performance. That Derby semi final was just so unfortunate. That was the savage effort. Um, he's just developed into a bit of a star. He's definitely in the top five. Is he in Graham Holland top five?
He's in the top five in the country. Never mind Graham Holland's kennel. As I said to Barry Call again, I keep referencing my chat with Barry the other night. This Graham Holland fella, he can train a dog. I'd keep an eye on him if I were you.
He's not too bad now, in fairness to him. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Bombay Pat. It was a great way to finish off the festival. Declan, I suppose you could say this was nearly the punctuation mark at the end of the festival. Like this was a proper display by a proper greyhound, and it's great. They've always done this. It's either the 575 or the 600 they finish the festival with, and it's the right way it should be. That's always how it has been in Dublin. The last race would generally be a 575 or a 600, and it's a great way to finish off proceedings.
Well, there was a time every night the last race was a
Yeah.
575 or a 600 going back to Paddy Ryan's time, and he possibly even before that. But I mean, yes, it is. It was a great race. Carmack King was a revelation to me. I mean, he showed a different side to him completely. Actually, they do make fools of us all. If you remember early this season, Carmack King looked outstanding over 550. I mean,
Mm.
he looked a Derby contender early in the season, and on his night he probably is that good. But this now is a new dimension. There's so many new avenues open to him now. Yeah. But Bombay Pat is right up in the Derby contenders next
Yeah.
year.
I'm
Right in
right.
there.
I'm on record as saying the Shelbourne 600, which was obviously formerly the Guinness 600 for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
I don't like the name. I really don't think it's like we see Shelbourne Open this and Shelbourne Open that every night of the week. Just give it a name. Call it the South Lots 600, or give it some sort of a historical name, and
That's
let
fair
it
enough. Yeah,
establish
yeah,
itself. I just think the Shelbourne Open 600 just doesn't sound like a classic.
yeah,
Give it
yeah.
its proper name, give it its proper title, and let's make the what was the Guinness 600 great again. And with dogs like these, the dogs that we saw running the 600 and the 575, it
Yeah.
could be an absolutely outstanding competition and classic next year. It's always been one of my favorite competitions, and will continue to be. But again, let's make it great again. Let's change that name, Shelbourne Open 600, and call it something that's historical and sort of boasts what a big competition it is and continues to be.
Yeah,
Tommy,
100% agree. Yeah.
you're a big fan of the 600-yard trip. I know that. Carmack King would be right up there in the shortlist.
Karma King is like what Declan was saying is right about earlier in the year. We thought like I think he probably was favourite for the Derby anti-post at some stage. I'd be fairly confident he was at some stage, right? No, not nothing against the dogs you're running against at the time, but but like it's like
we've touched on that a few times that there was not an awful
yeah,
lot of
but
early speed in that Champion 550.
yeah, exactly. But
Yeah,
but even if you look at the Michael Fortin the plate the night he did a 29:05. That's like that is still one of the fastest runs ever over 550.
yeah,
He has the ability. It's a bit like talking about untold dollar breaking 28 seconds for 525. It's purely because he has the ability. But not it's not always going to go right from over 525. It's not always going to go right for Carmack King over 550. Exceptionally fast dog. He really is. I thought actually, even though I don't think quite got home, I thought Dynamic Force ran a cracking race in defeat, considering the strength of the Greyhounds that he was up against the other night. But I agree with you 100% on the Shelbourne 600 thing as well. It's a bit like there about 3 or 4 years ago. They brought in a race in Mallow, 40 grand handicap. They called it the Mallow handicap. I was like, good God Almighty, tonight can we
oh
not call
yeah,
it some sprint cup or something? Because if it's worth 40,000 to the winner, at least make it feel like it's a like a proper race. Like calling it the Mallow handicap or the Shelbourne 600 is like saying, you know yourself, if you look at any track now on a daily basis, pick any track and you'll see the we open our doors at 5:30, freaking 5:75. Like drive you bananas, that sort of stuff. Like you know that sort of way.
yeah. I must say I did enjoy I did like the fact that they included championship in the title races for the Winter Racing Festival. It makes a difference. It highlights that it's just one of the 10 grand races. Like that's how it was set up. That these are championship races. So I did like that. But no, the Shelbourne Open
You're
600.
that's
I'm putting it out there. Change the
I
name.
I know where you're coming from now. You must have been involved in that committee that changed the Champions Weekend to Champions Festival in the horse racing too, because festival sounds more. I don't know. It just
Madness. That was madness.
yeah, it
Let's
was big, Declan, wasn't it?
Oh,
yeah.
crazy stuff.
Let's go back in time 24 hours. We better mention a few of the winners on well, let's mention all the winners. We'll briefly run through them. The first race on the card was won by Vale Poppy, trained by Liam O'Rourke, did absolutely everything right. 28:60, hell of a run, certainly a career best run, Declan. It's great to see the likes of Liam O'Rourke having a winner at the weekend.
The first three races on Friday were all local Kenneth,
Yeah.
which was nice. Yeah, absolutely. And she won it out and gone. She was the best in it and won it on merit. Absolutely, yeah.
You heard that, Tommy, didn't you? Declan just basically said, up the dubs.
You better believe
Yeah, he'll have called the Dublin 600.
it.
Surprise Reunion won the second race for obviously Des and Mary. Looks a nice type. He's only his fourth start and ran well to win. And more to come from him. He's only a May 23. Like there's definitely more to
Very
come from
good.
him. Nice,
I
nice
thought he
winner,
was very
Declan.
good.
Yeah, nice winner.
I didn't know much about him, but I thought that was a very good performance. Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
28:73. Only takes it up into the third bend and wins by 8.5 lengths. Like so,
It's only
there's
his fourth
options there
race.
with him. Yeah, only his fourth race. A really nice type. I will skip the third race, will we? We better skip the third race, not give it a mention.
Yeah.
No, Barry Call and his father Matthew had the winner, Black Bridges. She has a litter pups on the ground. They're 11 months, so like they're looking proudly on, I'm sure, at their mother, Black
A
Bridges.
good
She's a
good
real
collie,
professional.
actually.
She's a real professional, Declan. She's a really good starter, and when she gets to the front, she just keeps on finding. And Coulivanny's story ran on well for second spot, but you always suspect that Black Bridges had the measure of Kulugaki, who was giving chase in second spot. Barry is very. The two Barrys are good friends, Barry Clancy and Barry Call. I'm sure
The
Barry
Irish, yeah, yeah.
Call got great sort of got a real tickle out of beating Barry in the contest. But a really nice display by Black Bridges. She's just a professional. You give her the opportunity, and she's going to land them most nights.
She's nearly better now than she ever was, really. I mean,
Yeah.
that's near enough a career best effort, considering what it was and what she's racing against. I mean, I used to think of her first race on Thursday night or something, but she's
Yeah.
come a long way from that now, hasn't she?
She has, yeah. And I have to mention the damn Colleen Princess. Like she's thrown some amount of early speed in her, like in 2 or 3 litters. Like she's thrown every single one of them could go to a corner. I'd say they've won an absolute hatful of races amongst them. So well done to all involved in Black Bridges. Barry Call was certainly milking that one on Friday night and Saturday night, and I'm sure he'll continue to milk it going forward. The Winter Racing Festival A2525. This was a return to form from Droopy's Bro, Tommy. Droopy's Bro, of course, last year looked a real prospect. I think he picked up a pretty bad injury, and it's taken him a while to get him back to winning ways. He'll probably never be the force he looked like being at one point, but it was good to see him back to winning ways, and well done to Mert Lahey for nursing him back to something like his top health, and it's just a fine run in 28:60. Did it well.
Yeah, and I think any dog deserves that opportunity to to be brought back slowly to a level. So it's again, it's more than about one racing. It's just about the care these greyhounds get. It doesn't matter what level they are either. It's just good to see. Nice performance too.
Yeah. You and Me, Babe, Declan was returned 4-9. She was available at even money on the track. There was huge money, like colossal money from Ossian Miss. I could see her. I could only see one bitch finishing second. It was her. But you always suspected You and Me, Babe, with sort of doughty stares around her. Her four bend pace, like this, is a bitch that did 28:07 back in November 2nd. And while she didn't finish all that strongly over the 750 the previous week, you suspect that she was going to probably find more condition for that run. Like she wins 10 lengths in 48:05. If you were on it even money, it was a bit of a gift.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I don't mind, but not the week before because you even see first time over 550. Some dogs struggle, but next time they get it fine. You know what I mean? It's just different. Yeah, to me, she actually stood out. The second one is very good, but in her current form, You and Me, Babe, had to win that race.
Yeah,
Absolutely had to.
yeah. She wins 10 lengths, 48:05. The second one, you could definitely see her taking her chance in the Shelbourne Marathon. Again, she mightn't figure too prominently in the first lap, but she looks like she'd stay further. I thought Forest Lady actually ran well in third spot. She led for much of the way.
Yeah, she did.
For
Yeah,
for
yeah.
for Keith Powell. Nice type. She's only had the one win. She's going to correct that very shortly, Declan. Surely.
No question. Yeah, no, she's very good, and she ran a cracker, and she's still improving.
Yeah, she is. On to the sixth race. I thought this was one of the performances of the night on the opening night of the festival. Riverside Scotch. The clockman, Tommy, backed this one. He thought he was too big a price at, I think it was 6 or 7-1 in places. He made it a 7-2 chance. Tell you what, after five strides, it's an even money chance. Got to the front early, and that was that. Obviously, the damn Riverside Honey has some outstanding form over 1,000 yards. Does she hold the clock at Shelbourne for the 1,000 yards, Declan? Riverside Honey? I'll have to check that. All
She's
I
done
know is
everything. Yeah.
he's bred to stay, Riverside Scotch, and he went all the way to the line. Tommy, nice display by a dog who, again, they'll have a bit of sport with next year.
Yeah, I don't think he's in the top 20 now. Ian. This one
Oh,
we can finally say that. But I tell you what, when they can pick up a €2,000 pot anyway, it's not bad, is it?
no, certainly not.
Unfortunately, I missed that text about back in that top one.
Yeah, I did. I missed the text too. Maybe he's doing a bit of after time, and it was our clock man. But listen, we'll pull him up on that again. Yeah, Riverside Honey has 58:11 for the 1,025-yard trip at Shelbourne Park. She holds the track record for that 2 laps. So no surprise to see her son Riverside Scotch staying in front, Declan.
No, and funny you used to say that because the first thing struck me about that performance was 750.
Yeah.
He's certainly worth to go with it, isn't he? I mean, and he's going to lead half his 750s.
when
He's going to
when
be on
Black
front.
when Black Eye Turbo turned second and started making the ground, you're
Absolutely, yeah,
going, she's going to pick
yeah,
him up. She's very, very strong, and he pulled away from her the last few 50
yeah,
strides.
yeah.
I think he broke her heart.
That's
And
the first thing I thought when he crossed the line was 750.
still
He
going,
certainly has
still
to try
going.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. He looked relentless. I would imagine
yeah.
that 750 yards won't be a bother to him going forward. Keep an eye on him. On to the old stages. We've already mentioned Check for Sir. I told you what Carl was telling me about him. It was funny enough. He said 64 races. I don't know if it's a mark on me for not noticing it before that he goes mad in boxes. Because I asked Carl after racing, does he always do that? He says every night. He says it's great. He says all the rest of them miss the kick and he goes away and runs.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
win
yeah.
number 23. A good performance by a dog who has been an absolute credit to his connections, Declan.
Absolutely, and I mean, I'm still looking at the prices here. I just can't believe it. 11-2. I mean, I don't know what people. The one time you get it right yourself, you think every answer's wrong. But I mean, I still think it's outstanding value. To be honest with you, very very consistent dog, a very good dog, great strike rate. And game dog as well, very
Yeah.
game.
The game is a pebble,
20,
Tommy, as they say.
€23,365 in prize money.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, it was only €1,000 the other evening, but yeah,
Yeah,
every penny counts. They might
They're
have got
averaging
that.
a thousand to
They,
win.
they might got it. They might have got 1,000 out of They might have got 1,000 out of the weigh room or the parade ring, should I say, rather than the weigh room. Well done to all involved with Check for Sir. On to the novice 750 final, and I suppose. Listen, it wasn't a shock that the bitch won. It was but in terms of we had a 4-9 favorite here. Declan Monge's Wild looked a really, really good stare the previous week. It just wasn't meant to be the other evening. He didn't get a flying start, and one of the dogs sort of ran all over him at the opening corner, and he lost all chance of winning. He actually ran a big race in defeat to be only beaten as far as he was. He beaten 7.5 lengths. He must have been 20 lengths behind the leader at some point. Valinor took off out front, but just ran out of steam. And it was a big run by Penny's Colleen. She was the last to hit the ground. She's still probably 15 or 20 lengths behind at one point. She wins six. She's a really nice stayer, this lady. I know they've turned down good offers for her. She'll want to find her trapping boots, but I'll tell you something, she definitely has a future as a stayer.
She does, and the first few nights we saw her, even with 525,
Yeah.
she was stamped out to be that, and she's living up to all expectations. She was superb. For the favourite, I will say this: it was only his fourth race, fifth race, was it?
Yeah, he's only
Now,
had a handful of races. Sixth
now
race. It was the sixth race.
in the 750 in Shelbourne, it's easy to forget. It's a very short run to the first
Mm.
bend, and then you're straight into the second bend. You know what I mean? So if you miss any kind of shoving or pushing, and you've missed your break, then I know it's a long race, but you've got a lot of ground to make up, and some of those in front of you aren't going to be waiting around for you in 750. You know what I mean? So I'd give him another chance certainly, but the winner is very good.
Yeah, we mightn't see too much more of Monkeys Wild. I just see he's owned by the MWD partnership, so you'd suspect he'll be making his way to Mark Wallace at some point in the near future. And again, you could see him picking up loads and loads of big races over in the UK. He's a
Absolutely.
really talented stayer. It wasn't meant to be the other night, but a fine display by Penny's Colleen, and it has to be said, a better run in defeat by Valinor than the previous week. Just given the fact that he can go up as well as he or she can go up as well as she can. Like she's 29.42 in her card for 550 yards around Limerick, and 32.46 for the 600. While 750 may not be her game, there's lots of races to be won with this lady. She's clearly strong, clearly talented, one to keep an eye on. Moving on to the ninth race on the card and the opening night of the festival, Lenny's Desire. Tommy, I've already touched upon this. He's bred to be fast, a son of Signet Ace out of Free from Desire. He's a brother to Epic Ace, who won on debut at Shelbourne Park in 1830 for the sprint. We thought he was obviously going to be the very fastest in the litter. I think he might have some competition. This Lenny's Desire really liked him. I thought he showed more early speed the other evening. Took a bump on the boxes, has to check his stride slightly off the second bend, and just cruised by the leader into the third bend. Runs away to win by 7 lengths in 28.32. I think we will see lots of this dog. Got on to Damien Lonigan soon after the race and said, I think you have to add one to your Derby bet.
Interesting you say that. Yeah, very much a kind of a. I know he's only had six races, so it's a bit early to saying, but just even the going to Dundalk with the runs, and that run behind Dear Serb doing 21.17 is, you know, it's almost been translated to the last two four-bed runs, the style of racing, but I can see that changing. I can see that changing in this dog. I can see that dog being quite a bit sharper, and all of a sudden, then you're right. This is a proper dog, potentially going to the very top level. So yeah, really exciting type.
I have a feeling now. I haven't talked to Paul or Kevin about this, but the fact that Kevin told me straight after the race, oh yeah, Maiden Derby toaster. I would say the reason he was sent to Dundalk for the open sprints rather than putting him into company was that he didn't win an open race. Because this is an A1 competition he was put into. I'd say the plan has always been, since he won that night in Kilkenny, that I think he was bought out of that contest. I would say the plan has always been the Maiden Derby in the UK, because they targeted it this year. Obviously, they won it this year. This is a dog that they can certainly target a toaster next year. He looks a real toaster type Greyhound, Declan. I would say the ceiling with this dog is it's pretty high.
Mm.
He's only 66 pounds. He doesn't run like a 66 pounder. He runs like a bigger Greyhound. I'll tell you one thing, he is a big engine.
He is a very good dog, but we're all different. I wouldn't put him away for 4 or 5 months. I certainly wouldn't.
Mm,
I'd be racing him. But you need experience too. That's the other side of that coin. I mean,
yeah.
we've seen dogs go from English Derby from here. Great dogs. No names, no backstory, but great dogs. They hadn't enough experience.
Yeah,
That's
The Maiden Derby would start in, I think it starts in March.
Well,
So
that's fine. And if you
yeah.
get a few rounds of that, even a few rounds of that there, then you're at the
Yeah,
track that you're going to be running at.
their
Yeah.
issue is that they can't get the prep races into him in case they win one,
Yeah.
because he's going to be open. He's going to be open class
Yeah,
now.
I,
So
I must say the whole maiden derby thing is a bit of a joke, frankly, to be honest with you. It
I know,
is.
yeah,
And
but it's nice to win one.
oh, I wouldn't mind winning one, yeah. But I
Yeah,
mean, there'll be about 100 dogs put aside for it, Ian, and only one will win it. And those
yeah,
dogs are going to miss an awful lot of racing, an awful lot of prize money passed up in the meantime. That's the
I
same point I'm
suppose
making.
it's also a prep for the English Derby, which will be their target.
Yeah,
Paul obviously
yeah,
always
yeah.
targets it. He has 2 or 3 dogs to bring. This
Oh
will be
yeah,
one of them.
yeah.
And I can see the logic. I can see the logic. I think he's a hell of a
I
greyhound.
think,
I really do think he's a big dog for the future.
yeah, and I think also in that like he was a middle seed initially, like all dogs are, and it was left on him for the runs in Dundalk. That's fine for the sprint, but he's an inside seed. Like he going to the first bend, he got a hefty bump from the 4 dog early, but then just at the first bend the other night, he veered in behind the one in front, and just that's inexperience plus also being in a poor draw relative to what he wants. He was out in 5, but so I took a lot out of that performance, I have to say,
Yeah,
because I
hell
love
of
the
a
way
run.
he checked outside or stepped outside to accelerate by the dog, gone down to third bend. I really liked that tracking. I really did
Yeah,
for
lots to
an
like about it.
inexperienced pup.
Lots to like about Lenny's Desire, obviously owned by Lee Craze, who had a good weekend. Of course, JT Craze winning 24 hours later. On to the 10th race, Droopy's Carbine Dog. You'd know plenty more about than we would in Dublin. We've seen a bit of him now. I thought this was certainly one of his best runs in Dublin. He was racing from trap 6 as the widest of 6 inside seeds. We've already touched upon this, Tommy. Sometimes that's the place to be. I really like this display. Obviously, he was helped by the likes of Head in the Window and Dara Sidney edging inwards. Droopy's Carbine coming around the outside, led into the opening corner, and was doing so. Never really looked like in danger. All of a sudden, Toolmaker Curio decided to go after him off the last bend. You're going, oh, but Droopy's Carbine was strong enough to hold on by a length in 29.96. He's a really nice dog, Tommy. I'm sure you would have seen loads of him down at Curraheen.
Yeah, and a terrific night, a terrific effort one night there behind Tribal Sid, and he's a really fast dog, is right. But he's typically the type that I think that Pat Kiley trains. He has that type of dog with fiery pace that they can when they can get any bit of luck in running, they should have savage ability.
Yeah, Declan, just a nice display by a dog who was facing a tough task, but it was made a little bit easier. But he still had to show the early speed to get around.
I think you might look at his seating again. He actually
Yeah,
stayed. I mean, that's a wonder for him. He actually stayed out going into the corner. And okay, there's trouble behind, the dog fell over and everything like that. But I mean, he didn't get involved. There was all sorts of shoving and pushing on the inside. He just stayed out and
yeah.
away he went. So you're right. Sometimes it is the best draw, even if you are an inside seat. That does happen.
Oh, the first thing you do when you see 6 inside seeds, you go, "What's in 6?" And more
Yeah,
importantly,
yeah,
what's in
yeah,
5 and 4? Because it can often fall into their lap, as you say, and
yeah.
had loads of room. And the fact that he had 19 starts behind him always helps. It always helps in
Sure,
that
sure, yeah,
situation. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
We'll move on to the 11th race in the card. This is another one from down your way, Tommy.
Yeah.
Drive On Beauty. I would suggest this sister to Broadstrand Sid and outstanding amongst others. Out of Droopy's Alice, she's won now 4 from 10. I could certainly see this lady turning into a bit of an Oaks bitch next year. I really liked her. I thought she was a good winner the other evening. I don't think she's finished improving, given the fact she's only had the 10 starts. Yes, she's a bit of age on her side, but certainly her card in Dublin is better than what her card in Cork was. I think she's appreciated a step into Shelbourne Park, and lots to like about her 2 displays in this competition.
The beauty of the performance, as much as anything else, was what the fact that she has such a strong challenge from Highview Katie up around the opening bends, and it's very easy to kind of to lose lengths again when the dog which is inside you, and you're trying to hold a line that's a little off the bend, and you can lose a lot of ground doing that. I think you're right for Crystal Dunman. She'll improve a lot. I was talking to somebody who has a bitch out of that line as well, and tell you what, talk about being excited about the whole Broadstrand Sid line. The litter is exceptional. And I tell you, if you have your decision here is, do I continue to race? Or do I think about breeding?
Yeah.
That's the question. That's the question there. Like you're going, my God, this potentially a huge line.
Yeah, she's worth a few bob, no question about it.
Mm.
Declan, I expect you really appreciated this run.
I To me that'd be no brainer. Keep racing. I mean, she's just
Mm,
incredible. The 2 runs we've seen, and Highview Katie did 2:05 to the corner.
yeah,
And in some ways, her run the previous week impressed me more because she knew nothing about the track or anything, and she was thrown in, and she ran a cracker, and she ran very well here too. She's very good, but as you say, the breeding is very attractive as well. Absolutely, she's
yeah.
got everything going for her. Yeah.
Yeah, really nice type. Really, really liked her run. Poor old Kilcolgan Whitney was second. She's now 26-0. And the thing is, Declan, you'd often go, oh, we'll step this one up a trip. But 550, 575, 600 aren't going to help her because she's not going to be pacing up against the stronger running greyhounds. 750 could be the key here. One or two of them have stayed the trip in the past. I think when she is going to win a race, it'll probably be over six bends.
They had to move late show up to 750,
Yeah,
didn't they? Think about it. And
yeah,
he didn't even win over 750,
yeah,
but
yeah,
he
yeah.
never stopped winning afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't do any harm.
No, she's absolutely like she's running her
She
heart out.
flew home. Yeah,
She
absolutely.
just
She
is
flew home.
yet to win a race. Like it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
it's either going to be 525 or 750. I think if you step her up and trip into those intermediate trips, I don't think it's going to cause. I don't think it's going to fix the issue. The issue is she just can't pace up with them. But by God, she finishes like a train. Yeah, I'd love to see her over 750 yards and hopefully winning a race. And then to the final race on the card, Broca Justine, Maureen Finnegan, and Kieran Fitzgerald. Of course, Arthur Ryan would be very involved in this one as well. Declan, she's a nice type, a daughter of Magical Bale out of Killeen Princess. I mentioned earlier on Black Bridges. Well, this is another one that shows great early speed. She's a big lady, 76 pounds, Declan. There's a lot of her. And I'll tell you what, I was really taken by how she ran both the semi-final and in the final to hold Dunanelli Fred, who seems to be coming back to some form, the 2023 National Puppy Stake runner-up. But Broca Justine, just a good performance and another one for the Dubs.
And she'd won from the start, didn't she? I mean,
Yeah.
on her previous run, I didn't know much about it now until I saw her previous run. And once she'd had here, she was going to win. In saying that, the second and third did finish strongly. Bolton, Dunnally Fed is definitely coming back to himself, and which is fantastic to see. And Toolmaker Knows, I thought, actually finished very strongly. That's one
Mm.
to certainly look over longer trips. But the winner was very good. Maureen Finnegan, yeah, superb, great stuff.
All in all, great weekends racing. Tommy, this is the celebration that we need sort of at the end of the year. It's not the end of the year at Shelbourne Park. Obviously, the festive season is still very much ongoing. We have a terrific Christmas Oaks to look forward to, sponsored by Bernard Barry. So, loads to look forward to in the coming weeks at Shelbourne Park. We have the Shelbourne Marathon, we have the Gold Collar, of course. But it is great to have this sort of end of year showpiece at Shelbourne Park. It's important, Tommy.
Oh, vitally important. You have to have it, and I know it's quite hot on the heels of the Derby, so kind of you can feel like it might be overshadowed. But actually, the Saturday night's race in particular was fantastic, and a lot of the right winners. I suppose you could probably jumble the results about, and you'd probably still get right winners if you know what I mean. But I think that combination of the old and the new. I mean, just having the other Kobe. Winning and then having the likes of your Bombay Pats and that also successful on the card, and it's just a Deladi Da like who's kind of somewhere in the middle, kind of he's been established, been around. I think it's so important and it's really really good. But the other Kobe for me was the standout in the sense of what it is to pure professionalism, pure quality, pure class of a greyhound, and what any of those young dogs should be aspiring to be, or that their handlers will be hoping and their owners will be hoping that they could be. Maybe not Derby winners, but just that type of greyhound who yes, he's been really well handled at the moment to be kept fresh to produce these sort of performances, but just that a dog who's over 4.5, he'd be 5 in April, like, and he's producing performances like that. It just goes to show you if you look after your dogs well, and he's obviously been looked after really well by Jennifer and Francis, and now by Graham Holland. Like it's a lot of what we should showcase about Greyhound racing is the other Kobe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think Declan, that Tommy's showing his sentimental side there. He's showing professionalism and class and skill. And I think he's just been a bit sentimental. It was great to see the other Kobe winning, not because of his manner of success and whatnot, but just because he's a champion, and we love to see champions winning, and especially at 4.5 years of age. But all in all, a great weekend. Tommy mentioned something there as well. It's very, very much on the heels of the Derby, 2 weeks in between, and where you did notice the difference. There wasn't as many from the UK this time around because many had been over for the Derby final. They're not going to make the trip twice in the space of a fortnight. There'll be a huge UK crowd again next year, I assume. It's a great way to showcase our sport and Irish greyhound racing. I've noticed that, obviously since the new Shelbourne Park is open, the people arrive in smiling. They're ready to enjoy themselves the second they walk in the door. And it was very evident over the weekend. Great night. Again, people stayed late into the evening and Saturday night to celebrate at Shelbourne Park. It's a great venue for this type of occasion, and it can only get better.
Absolutely, and remember, there was once off this year. The Derby was particularly late this year because of that redevelopment. So, I mean, next year, very much the Winter Festival will be a standalone kind of thing at the
Mm.
end of the year, and hopefully plenty of UK runners as well as visitors. And with that kind of prize money, there certainly should be.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it, gentlemen. My thanks to both the Exile Dub and to the Oracle that is Declan O'Donoghue. A good lot talked about. We spoke for a long, long time about the festival. There were 24 races. There were two exceptional nights of action, and well done to anybody who had a runner on the night. Never mind a winner. A great festival once again. Another one chalked into the book, and we look forward to 2025. But that's it. That's the last Talking Dogs on a Monday. In this, guys, for the next few weeks, we will be bringing you other content. However, we'll be doing a review of 2024. So keep an eye out for that. But from myself, from Declan, from Tommy, it's a case of Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and we'll speak to you soon.